Hello and welcome. I'm Ijoma Onyato. Tonight, federal government intensifies effort to ensure transparency in official transactions, launches web disclosure portal to monitor all PPP contracts in the country. High Court sitting in Port Harcourt finds 5 policemen guilty of extrajudicial killing of 2 friends in the bush in Uyghur Council of River State. 5 South African police officers arraigned in court for allegedly robbing a Nigerian of $61,000 in 2015. And United Nations seeks focus on diplomatic efforts rather than rhetoric to resolve the North Korean nuclear crisis.
On business news tonight, Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries extends Nigeria's crude production limit exemption as meeting ends in Vienna, Austria.
On sports news, Nigeria's men's basketball team, the Tigers, begin their place for China 20 FIBA World Cup in November.
And from Abuja, Benue State Governor Samuel Otom calls for more assistance from the federal government and individuals over the floods that sacked 21 councils in the state.
We begin tonight with the latest move by the federal government to ensure transparency in its official transactions, especially regarding public and private partnership contracts in the country. The Minister of State for Power, Works, Housing and Urban Development, Sulaiman Hassan, during the launch in Abuja, explained that the portal will also ensure prompt delivery of infrastructure projects.
Nigeria currently has an infrastructure deficit of approximately $300 billion. With this reality in view, the federal government recently authorized the concession of 4 major airports across the country through public-private partnerships in a bid to address infrastructure deficits in the aviation sector. In this hall are government officials, private investors, and members of international organizations to launch a process that will facilitate the proper monitoring of projects.
This administration is in support of the disclosure of projects information to Nigerians because these projects belongs to them. And the resources used to put these projects in place must be seen to have been efficiently used for the common good of our citizens.
Words of affirmation from development partners continue to trail the federal government's landmark decision, with partners offering support in the provision of technical expertise and funding.
Essentially, every Nigerian who has access to this portal, by just having an access to, becomes a PPP contract administrator. Compliance monitor. Anywhere you are, you can ask questions. You can, like, we're trying to do the airport concessions. All that information will be on the web. So you can look at something and call on the Honorable Minister and say, this is what you promised in the OBC. Have you done it?
On behalf of the World Bank, we stand ready to support the government's effort in helping build strong pipeline of bankable projects, including capacity building and ensuring that there is adequate funding for project development, both at the federal and the state level. Nigeria's development challenges are enormous, but the potential of its people, their resilience, their entrepreneurship, among many other qualities, are able and will be able to address both the human and infrastructure gaps for a peaceful and prosperous Nigeria.
The launch of the Public Disclosure Web portal now enables Nigerians to track all infrastructure development contracts awarded by the federal government.
And outside Nigeria, 5 South African police officers have appeared in court today for allegedly robbing a Nigerian man of a sum of $61,000 in 2015. 4 of the accused have since been dismissed from service over the incident, but the state is currently prosecuting them following an investigation by the Independent Police Investigative Directorate. The complainant claims he had concluded a forex transaction prior to a business trip when he was arrested by the policeman, taken back into his hotel room where his money was allegedly confiscated, but it was not recorded at the Pretoria police station where he was detained for a night.
The 5 former policemen stand accused of robbing the complainant, a Nigerian dealer in electronics, of $61,000 on the 16th of July 2015. The day's witness recognized 4 of the 5 accused persons and told the court her version of how events unfolded that day. She says an unverified but a large amount of money and a pack of SIM cards were taken from the complainant's hotel room along with him. The policemen had told her the complainant had been under investigation. During a short break in court, a set of DVDs were distributed to the lawyers of the 5 accused, to which they complained of being ambushed by the prosecution. The 42-year-old Nigerian was present in court but refused to be named or interviewed. He said he hopes for justice as he has done nothing wrong. According to the IGP investigating officer in charge of the case, a separate case of alleged bribery brought by the accused persons against the complainant had earlier been quashed by the court. He also says a civil claim would be necessary for any attempt to recover the allegedly stolen money. The case has been adjourned to the 13th of November 2017 to allow the counsel to the accused persons view the CCTV footage presented by the prosecution in court this Friday, and also allow the current witness, in this case the general manager of the hotel in which the incident allegedly took place, to be cross-examined. From the Pretoria Magistrates Court, Betty Dibia, Channels Television News.
Staying with legal matters, but here in Nigeria, a high court sitting in Rivers State has found a 5-man patrol team of the Special Anti-Robbery Squad, led by 1 ASP Samuel Chibu, guilty of extrajudicial killing. They are said to have killed 2 friends, Michael Akko and Michael Igwe, in Oyibo local government area of the state, in an incident that occurred on June the 22nd, 2009. The trial judge, Justice Adolfo Senebele, in the enforcement of a fundamental human rights suit, declared that the defendants intentionally killed the 2 young men without trial. The judge held the claims by the defendants that the deceased were hit by bullets during a crossfire with another alleged member of their gang could not be substantiated. The court awarded 50 million naira as compensation to the families of the victims. Meanwhile, the convicted policemen are also standing trial for murder before Justice Margaret Okpara of the State High Court. The case will come up in November. The Inspector General of Police, Ibrahim Idris, is appealing to President Muhammadu Buhari to approve the recruitment of at least 31,000 policemen annually for the next 5 years, noting that the current number of 1 policeman to 600 citizens is grossly inadequate. He was speaking at a ceremony marking the passing out parade of the constables at the Nigerian Police College in Kaduna State.
And the staff of this institution, we say a big thank you.
We are still operating below the United Nations approved ratio of 1 policeman to 400. We are now operating 1 policeman to 600 citizens. And that is what formed the basis of the request made by the Inspector General of Police to Mr. President, that in order to meet up with this United Nations ratio, we have to recruit 31,000 policemen yearly for the next 5 years. Right from the time both the present administration and the current Inspector General of Police came on board, we've told the whole world that this is an administration zero tolerance of corruption. And you know corruption kills everything. Corruption kills your profession. Corruption kills your conscience. Corruption kills everything about you.
The Minister for Science and Technology, Ubunaya Ono, has given a deadline for the end of crude oil theft in the country. He was speaking at the commissioning of the Bio-Resource Development Center in Bayelsa State, equipped with modern technological devices that will track processes in the sector. Mr. Ono, who also visited Rivers State, has advocated for a shift from a commodity-based economy to one that's knowledge-based.
The desire to change the nation's overdependence on foreigners for the production of everyday consumables led to the creation of the Bio-Resource Development Center in 2003. The Research Institute has been working on improving the variety of crops available for local farmers and teaching them globally accepted practices in plant and livestock farming. The Minister of Science and Technology takes a tour of the fully equipped laboratory and other facilities in the center.
For me, Nigeria is changing, yes, and with this capacity here, we will be able to do many things. I just gave them instruction now that by the end of the year, we should have fingerprinting of our crude oil, so that if anybody steals it, we will identify it. Because even crude oil can have fingerprints. And with the equipment we have now here, we can do it in Nigeria. So you can see the capacity that we have. We can also do genome mapping of all our crops, our plants, rare plants. There are certain plants, certain animals that are indigenous to Nigeria that you don't find anywhere else. So no other country will be interested in studying those. And it is for them to do so. I have given them that mandate and they will do so.
The minister also makes a stop at Port Harcourt, the River State capital, to recommend a shift from a commodity-based economy to a knowledge-based one. Governor Wike is happy with the minister's idea and assures him of his support.
So I want to commend you for that statesmanship. It shows that we still have people who believe that when we are talking about governance, we don't want to mix governance with politics.
The plan to move to a knowledge-based economy in Rivers and Bayelsa State's newly commissioned laboratories, which allows for studies in life sciences, biopharmaceuticals and agriculture, will no doubt give the country an advantage in its efforts to be more globally inclined.
The non-governmental organization regulatory bill before the National Assembly has been generating many reactions on social media and in public discourse. The controversy surrounding the bill is based on speculations that it seeks to limit the activities of non-governmental organizations, including civil society and religious bodies. However, lawmakers have also been trying to explain the NGO bill, including the Chairman, House Committee on CSOs and Development Partners, Mr. Peter Akpatason. According to him, the bill is necessary to check the activities of groups or individuals masquerading as NGOs. But the former chairman of the National Human Rights Commission, Professor Chidi Odinkalu, disagrees. They were guests on our breakfast show, Sunrise Daily.
The intendment of this document is to, in the first place, provide something that looks like a clearinghouse for the activities of civil society organizations, registration and coordination and harmonization and all that, with a view to promoting transparency, accountability, local content, and also to prevent the unlikely event of some powers or individuals locally or internationally using NGOs to promote terrorist activities and also money laundering.
In 2011, the federal government set up the Gaji-Galtimari panel into the insecurity in the Northeast. The Gaji-Galtimari panel reported in September 2011. And what they found was that the people who were sponsoring Boko Haram were in government. They were in politics. They were identified. There was a white paper issued on the Gaji-Galtimari committee report. Nobody has been brought to book. Those people are still there in government. Now, people will come and bring up all this red herring about civil society terrorists, and you really want to believe it. Yes? But that is not just nonsense, it is certifiable nonsense. And I'll ask you the question, if there is a government and it actually has evidence that people are masquerading as civil society to perpetrate terrorist activities, what would it do? Would it not shut them down? You need a new law to shut them down? Is that exactly the point? That does not make sense.
In part two, after the break, Lagos State government orders truck owners to stay away from the city pending clearing of traffic spillover from the Apapa area. Do join us again.